Afternoon, everybody. This is Matt Webster back again today with another video in my Christian Journey series. Today's video is a character that most people should be familiar with. He's been around since the early 1940s, and I think a little before. Won't get into the exact details of that character and his origins, but here we go. Today's character is Clark Kent, Superman. Now, Clark Kent was a character sent from his home to be protected because it was being destroyed, or was on the brink of collapse. So he was saved from death. The story can be compared to one in the Bible. Like similar character, similar background. He can actually be compared to a couple of characters. The first one, though, is Moses. For anyone who's ever read the Bible, they'll know this story pretty well. Moses was, as a baby, sent out on a river to the Pharaoh's house. It was the only way that he could be protected. At that time period, the Pharaoh of Egypt was looking for all the firstborn of Hebrew houses because he was afraid of what would come from it. Which, rightfully so, because Moses ended up being the very child that he ended up fearing. Moses was sent to deliver his people from slavery, abominations, hardships, things like that. But there are a lot of trials involved in this. Clark was also a man like Jesus. Clark often put himself in great danger, something Jesus himself did numerous times. He knew that he was going to die and he was going to be put to the cross, and he still took the beating and the wrath of man, which ultimately is actually the wrath of God. Now, having said that, many times he had to confront his own weakness, kryptonite. We as people are subject to the same weaknesses as Superman. We all have our own unique kryptonite. The thing with that in mind, though, is that Clark Kent's kryptonite was never actually the little green rock. His kryptonite was actually being so self-reliant that he thought he always had to do things alone. He always tried to shoulder the burdens of the world and take on all the stuff, including all the criticisms, and, he had stones cast at him, so to speak, which is something that Christians and the world will do alike to people when they don't agree with a viewpoint. And having said that, Christian journey often involves this. You get attacked from both sides. And there's no right or wrong when people are trying to find their own journey. And the thing with it is that each Christian, if you're a truly Christian, will walk in a way that's different from the other. It's not to discredit anyone else's journey. The thing is that we're all called to find other lost sheep once we've been found. It just so happens that in my own particular case, in my journey, it's the things around me. My Gundam model kits, Magic the Gathering, anime, Star Wars, Knight's Armor, all this uniquely different collectible stuff is stuff that God has used to relate to me so that I could help relate to other people. At one point in time, I was actually condemned as a child for liking these things and said that they were unholy and they were not of God. And for a long time, I believed that. So I kept away from wanting to be Christian and wanting to be of the church. Much like Superman often had ideals and things that separated him from the rest of the world. Clark was out there actively trying to find and do things to save the people that he wanted to save. And he wanted the world to see a different path. He often challenged the ideas of local authorities and governments, something I've done, something that Jesus did. The thing is that when you walk down this path of Christianity, you're going to get a lot of people throwing and casting stones. I walked into this completely aware and prepared for that, and even so, it doesn't stop it from happening. You just have to be ready when the moment comes. Now, having said that, going back to the Clark Kent thing, being self-sufficient and reliant was his weakness. People would criticize his viewpoints, and he was outcast for it. So much so that even other heroes amongst the Justice League and thing would question Clark's motives all the time. But Clark's heart was always in the right place. To seek justice, which is to stand against what was wrong. To seek truth, which is to embrace limitations. And to embody hope, which is to rise every time you fall. Clark only became Superman by falling repeatedly and choosing to rise after every fall. We all have the right to choose. We can choose to fall and not to get back up. However, when you choose to fall and not get back up, you're choosing yourself. And what I mean by that is that if you don't get back up, you're basically saying that you're not worth much, and the people that you love are not worth much. Every time I have fallen in my life, I sit there and I look down and I think about all the stumbles and everything. And it used to be that I'd be so upset at myself that I didn't think I could do it anymore. And then what happened one day was people started coming into my life. So even if you take the Christianity out of this, what I can tell you is that I started looking around me and I got to see people, my friends, my family, and for a long time, I spent a lot of time isolated and alone. And it got to a point where I could be in a crowded room and I could be screaming and shouting, trying to get people's attention, to sound the alarm when I knew things weren't right. And it didn't feel like I had a voice. It didn't feel like I was being heard. And for me, kind of like Superman, you could be in the middle of the crowd and feel completely isolated, almost like you're alone trying to fight this battle. And it's in those moments where you fall down, in those cases, you hit your knees, and you kind of wonder why you feel so alone even being surrounded by a ton of people. Eventually what happened for Clark, much like it happened for myself, God started slowly interjecting people to intercede on my behalf, to prove the point that I wasn't alone, that I just needed to give it time. The point that I'm making is, it's not just about the rising and getting up. It's that every time you choose to get up, one more thing is added to you. One more lesson. And if you decide to keep rising, even when you're in situations like that, things will come. Good things will come. The people that you need. The people that you love. The people that you're going to care about. So for me, rising is about getting up for them, because I didn't come as far as I've come by choosing the easy path or laying down. It's not to say that I haven't had moments where I was down longer than other moments. The point of it is that if you keep getting up every time, things eventually do get better. It's a slow climb and a slow build. A lot of people want immediate answers and immediate responses, which I kind of blame on society, because our modern society demands things fast. You can see proof of this in things like fast food, retail service. People get frustrated having to wait in lines. And our modern society, especially here in the US, we want immediate gratification. And that's one thing that I have learned, like, it's not good for society, even if you, like I said, do take the Christianity out of all this stuff. And God does teaching that patience is good, so even if you don't want to believe in God, know that there's truth in that. Sometimes the longer you work for something, the more gratified you're going to feel. One thing I've learned is that immediate gratification doesn't really do much for you, and in fact, it leaves you feeling kind of empty and void. Because it kind of gets to a point where you're unsatisfied with everything no matter how much you want it. It's one of the reasons why I don't believe in chasing money. I don't like the idea of like going after something that's going to be a temporary fix to some problems. Because money can only get you so far. Knowledge can only get you so far. On the other hand, one thing I do truly believe that gets you further is love. And my happiest moments have been when I've been surrounded by the people that I needed the most in my life. Much like Clark Kent. Clark Kent had his parents, he had his friends, the Justice League, and most importantly, he had Lois Lane. Now, I'll say this in my own life experience. Right now, I've kind of got the Justice League, and I know my Lois Lane's out there, and she's probably frustrated with me because she's still trying to figure out where I'm at and how I'm operating, and why I'm not always wearing the cape. Now, something I wanted to highlight too with this message for today. So, the choice to believe is every person's choice. I can't make that choice for you. And yes, you don't have to believe in God. And in fact, if you want to watch my videos and you don't even really care about the Christian aspect of it, then watch it for the other reasons of what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to show a better way that we can better society. I am by far the least perfect man, and like, maybe people shouldn't be taking advice from me. However, if people choose to take advice from me, my goal is to give the best advice I can based on my current point in the journey. And things might change over time. I might have something to add to this later. I might be missing pieces of the puzzle, which is what I was trying to highlight with the Christian Journey series. Sometimes we all want answers so fast, including myself, that we forget that there's a larger puzzle, and it's something that you build over time. I mean, if you've ever taken a puzzle out of the box, you don't solve a 1,000-piece puzzle in the first hour. At least not most people. Most people, it takes several days. And it's painstaking, because sometimes you get frustrated and you're trying to figure out where pieces fit and how they fit. That's how our lives should operate. We shouldn't have all the answers right away. The faster you get to the answer, the less gratifying it is. And the more frustrated you become at the end of it because it doesn't feel like it was worth the time. But a message that I want to give comes from the book of Joshua. Joshua 24:15. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods of your ancestors serve beyond the Euphrates on the gods of the Amorites, in whose Lord you are living. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. Now, like Joshua, I've chosen to serve the Lord, and I'm not saying it is for everybody, and it might not be the right path for some people. I know that it's the right path for me because since I started coming to God, regardless if you believe in Him or not, I have noticed that my own life has got personally better. And something I will say to everybody is that if you stick to watching these videos, you might not see it right away. It might not even be a month from now. It might be a few years from now. I know that my life is going to change dramatically. And I know that there's going to be at some point in my life an absolute miracle is going to happen. I can't explain how that works or even to begin to really quantify that with thoughts. The thing is that Maybe it seems crazy to some people, even foolish, to trust in something that you can't see. But my thing is that I don't really need to see to believe. I've seen a lot of things happen that I can't explain, and a lot of things that I've prayed for have ended up happening. And maybe that doesn't make sense and it sounds crazy to some people. That's okay. Like I said, even if you take the Christianity out of this, people can't deny that there are some things that happen that they can't really explain. The only way you can really truly explain it is it's a miracle. Anyways, I hope that you all can find something to believe in, even if you don't call it God. And for those of you who do want to know God further, or if you just want to see how things play out, I continue to emphasize that I hope that people will watch these videos, because I think that you're going to find something that's going to happen in your own lives that you won't be able to explain. Maybe some connections that you wanted to rekindle with somebody. Maybe you're like me. Maybe you felt like an outcast even in a church, or your own beliefs, doing your own thing, being called a demon for the things that you love. If you're in that group of people, then I encourage that you continue watching these videos, or even find another content creator that maybe aligns more with your own personal journey and like how you feel. Because there are a ton of people with a ton of different backstories. And one thing I will highlight is I do not speak well. I have a stutter, and I actually have a speech impediment that sometimes gets in the way. And it's hard for me to quantify my thoughts through physical words sometimes, because I don't do well with it. Something I'm kind of learning how to get over, and it's, part of some things, not to mention being autistic kind of plays a part in all this. So anyways, I hope this video finds you well and it all gives you some sort of blessing. Until next time.